Item 11.1, and that is an item that I asked to be put on the Attorney General letter of November 14, 2025. That was the request letter, and then we've since gotten a letter. So I just want to, I really want to do two things tonight. I don't want to go further into debate on the writing of the request. I think we've already done that. I do want to get closure on if anybody else wants to add anything on that. But I really don't want, I don't want a debate on it tonight. I think we've debated it enough. I do want us to share whatever we want to share, any of the five of us on it, but I really don't want it to be adversarial. I don't want it to be about any one of the five of us and what we did. I think we've already discussed that enough. I agree with the conversation we had on Monday. And then the second thing is I think we need to kind of talk about, and the letter was to Councilmember Albritton, wasn't to the five of us, or the city council or city as a whole. So I think we just need to talk about how we handle that, how each of us, the five of us, since it wasn't written to us, it was written to Councilmember Albritton, how we consider it. But I thought it was important for it to be on tonight because it's a sensitive public issue. We all know that. There's no application to vacate the street pending right now. I made that point on Monday. So we're not here tonight to talk about that. We're here to talk about the Attorney General letter, the request, and then the letter that the council member received. I do encourage us all just to be transparent about how all the request and how it all came together. And I just want to share that the letter is something that the nonprofit property owner has wanted for months now. They've been trying to get someone to request this opinion letter. It isn't something that just happened here in recent weeks. They've been trying to get this letter requested for months. And so they have wanted it so badly that they came to City Hall looking for a copy of it a couple of days before it was actually even sent. So they were really wanting this letter, this request written. And I think you'll see how quickly we got one back. And it was favorable to them in their position, why they wanted it so badly. They believed that it would be helpful to them in this legal dispute we have over who owns the real property. So the energy that they brought with this certainly raises some concern with the city and the citizens of the city. And then they've gotten it so quickly. So, I mean, their public has questions about it, has questions about this issue. So I just want us to kind of put this to closure tonight, to make sure the public knows we're handling this transparently. And if there's anything anybody wants to share on their involvement, they got a request for a letter, then you can do that tonight. If you don't want to, that's fine, but it's up to each of us to do what we want to do. And then the second thing is, they have, and I made this point, they have Mr. Potter, who's a really good attorney advocating for them, and we have our city attorney pointing out for the citizens what our position is on this. And so I think it's important that we rely on the city attorney's advice on this issue. And I don't think that we consulted past the last time we had a joint conversation on it, but if any one of us would have asked you for guidance on doing this request letter, what advice would you have given us, or what would you have shared with us about doing a request for this opinion letter?
Make sure my mic's on. Well, I think it depends on what the letter says, but I think I could say it this way. If any council member came to me or comes to me with a letter similar to the one that was sent, I would probably encourage that to come to the dais for review. Now, there's no law that requires that. I think we talked about that previously in public. I don't think that's necessary legally. To be clear, I've said previously, I don't think any laws were broken. It's not that dramatic. But as a best practice, I definitely think that AG opinions in general, and this one in particular, would be best served coming to the dais. And that's probably the advice I give. So I think the reasons for that, if we kind of break that down, part of it is our own past practice as a city. Again, we don't have anything codified that says this. Again, I don't think any laws are broken, don't think any rules are broken, et cetera. I've said that several times. We may want to consider it on a go-forward basis. That's up to the council. I think you're free to make your own rules in this regard if you choose to do so. And if not, that's okay as well. But we have established our own precedent as a city. And just like any city, we have kind of our cultural norms. I think part of our cultural norm in Clearwater has been the AG letters come to the dais. As far as I know, that's how it was when Ms. Aiken was here. Certainly has been true in my years as city attorney. So I think part of it is that, like, we've set that expectation with the public and with external stakeholders. And that has nothing to do with Garden Avenue, has nothing to do with the church, has nothing to do with anyone except for us. So I think part of it is that. As far as this particular letter, I think the question that was asked, in my humble opinion, is one that is well served by discussing it on the dais. If a question was, and that's why I say it depends on what question I was asked by a council member, because I could imagine a circumstance where someone comes to me and says, well, David, meaning Margolis, what do you think about a letter that I'm going to write that has to do with how I might vote individually? So, for example, anyone can send a letter to the Florida Ethics Commission to ask how they can vote or how they should vote or how they should handle a particular issue ethically. It's also appropriate, as happened here, to send an individual letter to the Attorney General. Again, nothing wrong with that, but the content of the question can affect others. And I think that's something that I would generally encourage all of you, or would encourage all of you to consider. To give an example, I think in this context, let's say if we kind of wind back the clock and think about how this played out the first time. As we all know, the manager and I brought forward a proposed deal to sell the parcel to the church for $1.4 million, along with the other conditions that were previously discussed. Of course, what I'm saying now is not privileged because it all came forward in public. We all know there was very robust discussion over that. And I'll give the vice mayor as an example. The vice mayor indicated that she was opposed to what was brought forward. No secret about that. She's already articulated her views on that. Let's say the vice mayor had sent a letter or came to me and said, hey, I want to send a letter to the Attorney General because I've read this letter that the Attorney General sent to the mayor, and the Attorney General has expressed concerns about discrimination. And now I, as the vice mayor, am worried that if I vote against that proposal, if it comes back to me, that I may be accused of discrimination or that the Attorney General may want to threaten enforcement action against me. And therefore, I, as the vice mayor, am considering asking for the Attorney General's guidance to say, if I vote against this deal, or if I vote against the vacation, will you, as the Attorney General, view that as a discriminatory act? And is that something that I should be mindful of because enforcement action may in fact be taken against me as a result of that? I think that type of question is one that is well suited to individual action because it affects you personally, it affects how you vote, how you choose to conduct yourself. And I know that all of us want to make sure we don't discriminate, right? I think that's probably like a common denominator among everyone here on the dais. So that question, I think, could be very different, perhaps, than something that asks about the city's corporate rights. Because if we start asking questions on an individual basis that affect the entire city's corporate rights, that's the type of question that could affect, in this case, the public treasury, because we're talking about $1.5 million of public funds potentially that would be received from the sale. We're talking about public assets because, as we know, we've maintained public parking there for decades. We have utilities there. We're talking about public access to a road, et cetera. And I'm not saying that to favor or disfavor vacation or the deal we brought forward, only to say that certain types of questions, I think, are more likely to implicate the city's corporate action and more likely to implicate public rights than, say, certain other types of questions. So I think in this particular case, with that type of question, I would have recommended that it come forward to the dais. And then finally, as the mayor said, there's definitely a public transparency component to this. There is no law that requires it to be done in public. However, it is no secret that I am a big proponent of doing things on the dais, particularly when it comes to controversial topics. Keep in mind that I think, and this is purely my opinion, so now I am now stepping slightly beyond what the law says in this conversation, and I'm answering because Mayor has asked me what advice I would give to any of you. What advice I would give to any of you would be that when we have sensitive topics, and especially those that we've talked about in public, I think it creates a public expectation that we will handle it in the public going forward. For this particular topic, both Councilmember Cotton and the mayor had spoken with the Florida Attorney General's office, had publicly shared the results of those conversations, had explained to the public that the Attorney General was focused on discrimination, was not focused necessarily on the street vacation, and in fact did not necessarily want to get involved in the street vacation. And that's fine, and I appreciate you guys sharing that with the public and commend both of you for doing that. But since we've shared that now with the public, if you're a resident looking at this, that was the last public discourse that you heard. And so to the mayor's point, it can be very hard, I think, for a member of the public to process how we got from there to something like this. And so, again, no rules broken. I don't think it needs to be over-dramatized. We've never really had this come up before. But what I would encourage the council to think about is just what processes do you want going forward? Are there practices that you might like to adopt as far as, number one, how we request Attorney General opinions, how we share that information with the public? And I don't know that any of those decisions have to be made tonight, but I think it's a good time to probably just think about that. So that's probably the advice I would have given. Sorry for the long story, but it's obviously been on my mind given the recent events.
Yeah. And I don't want to debate tonight. I really don't. But you know, the letter, I got the letter when it on, actually during our work session, you know, where I could, and when I see we got a letter, now that changed, you know, where I wanted to look at it, see what it said. It wasn't written to me, it was written to another council member, but it impacted my ability to really talk about this and talk it through. So that's largely why I put it on tonight. Plus, I want to say too, you know, we can't, I hope we get closure on that part of it tonight, because we can't go back and withdraw the request. The letters, it's been requested, it's been written, the opinion. So it's really a moot point to go back and rehash all that. But I do think, I do want to say this too. I know the Attorney General. Every time I see the Attorney General, we have a conversation. He came to my office on September 4th, and we talked about a number of things. But we talked a little bit about this, and as you might expect, the Attorney General has a lot going on. He's out there putting bad people in jail and all these things going on. So for him to know the history of Clearwater, downtown Clearwater, and I mean, it's understandably hard for him to get into these. He's got a large staff, and I'm assuming he relied on his staff to do all this, but I don't want this to come out where it feels like the Attorney General are at odds. We're not. And I know Councilmember Cotton, you've talked with him too. You have a relationship with him too, but I don't want anybody to think that I'm adversarial with the Attorney General. I support him. I know the great work he's doing, and I don't want it to come out looking like that. I mean, I do know, and we all know, they've wanted this letter for months, and I'm assuming they gave their information to the Attorney General's office, and a lot of the information they gave him is reflected in the letter that I got and the letter that Councilmember Albritton got. I disagree with the facts as that are contained in that letter. I disagreed in the one that was sent to me. I don't think they're accurate in some cases, and I don't think they're accurate in this letter. But I just want us to, be transparent about what happened to the extent each one of us feels comfortable in doing that, and then let's get closure on that part of it and move on. As I said, there's no pending request to vacate right now, so really tonight, we're just discussing this letter, and I think what I would encourage the five of us to do is we each have weekly meetings with the city attorney. He's our attorney, he's the city's and the citizens' attorney on this issue, that each one of us discuss how that letter to one council member should be considered by each of the five of us, and for each of the five of us to do that in our one-on-one meetings with the city attorney. So with that, I'll take whatever other comments or questions that other council members have.
Well, thank you, Mayor. I think you've said it, I think 5 times, used the word closure. I think that's important, especially there's no application in front of us. There's no decisions as a city or staff to make. We understand the process of how it happened. We've all gave our feelings on multiple occasions on whether we agreed or disagreed with the process of how it was handled and how the AG's opinion was requested. I said on Monday, I think it's in the best interest of this dais and this city to move forward. I think the more we continue to talk about the AG and his office, the more we seem to find ourselves receiving letters and communications that are not in our best interest. So I think it's probably in our best interest to find ways to move forward, and when those decision times come or applications come before us, then we have decisions as a collective to make. And I appreciate the way the discussion was handled on Monday. That's how I hope we continue to have those debates, those challenging discussions. They are important to our city. They're important to this dais and our team to move forward. We should not be afraid of having those difficult conversations. We should have them more often in the sunlight. I am in support of that, but we definitely have to do it collegially and not dysfunctionally. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Well, I acknowledge that this issue has now attracted significant public interest, media attention, and I'm hearing it constantly. I have heard from many residents who genuinely are confused by the various written legal opinions, and I understand that. A lot of their questions have given me pause. One in particular is, if we don't own the road, why are the taxpayers maintaining it? And questions like that. So it has generated a robust conversation in the community. But after everything has been said, written, and debated, I'm left with 2 clear points. First, we do not have an application or a formal request before us, so we don't have anything to consider at this point. No decision for the council to make at this time. Second, my position remains unchanged. Privatizing this road is not in the public interest. It would reduce access and maneuverability in the very downtown we are working so hard to revitalize, not only for today's downtown, but for the downtown of tomorrow, in the near future. And that future is coming quickly. Within the next 2 to 5 years, we will see a new city hall, a new PSTA center, a fully renovated and occupied municipal services building, over 400 new residential units, a hotel, structured parking, an activated library, and potential redevelopment of 14 to 17 parcels. Access and connectivity will be essential to that growth and to the success of this downtown. For all these reasons, maintaining this roadway as a public asset remains, in my view, the responsible path forward.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, I'm assuming that we've got a lot of people here who are not waiting for the closing comments by the mayor or the council members. Is there anyone here that wants to speak to this agenda item here tonight? If you could raise your hand if you'd like to speak, okay? All I would ask is that we stick to the agenda item. The vacation of the street is not, we're not debating that tonight. There's no motion to do that. So it's strictly on the Attorney General's letter to Councilmember Albritton. So if you could just try, I would say it's believe me, if an application comes in again, it'll be back on the agenda, and we'll take input from every community member that wants to come in and weigh in on it. A lot going on in this. But if folks will help us stick to the agenda item, then we'd be glad to have folks come up and speak for you. Everybody gets 3 minutes, and gentleman raising his hand now. I think we had a back and forth at a prior meeting where you didn't understand the 3-minute rule. That's the same rule for everybody, sir. So, yeah, so just if I cut you off, that I'm not trying to pick on you, that's all it is. So at this time, is there anyone from the public that was desire to speak to this agenda item?
And it's just a question and a request. I may be confused.
State your
Was there
name, sir.
one? I'm
Your
sorry?
name, please.
Steve Harris.
Thank you.
Was there only one letter that has come from the Attorney General? Or are there 2 letters that have come from the Attorney General? And if it's 2, I don't recall ever hearing what was in it, and whether, if there was a second one, is that content that is public or will be made public?
Again, I hate to, it's really, this is a chance for you to
I'm not
come
over
up.
3 minutes yet, I know.
Well, to make your remarks, it's not, we really don't have a conversation with the folks. I'd be glad to answer your question. Yes, there were 2 letters. One was written to me way back, and then another one was to Councilmember Albritton.
Okay.
But be glad to talk to you after this about
Okay,
that.
thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
Mike Mastrosario, City of Clearwater. I know I'm not allowed to ask questions, so I won't do that, but I'm going to ask a question. You guys can just ponder it, because I'm going to ask for meetings with each one of you individually, and hopefully you'll give them to me. And that information I will make public as far as the answers that I'll be looking for. We want to be open and honest about everything. Mayor, you talked about last week about the lobbying that went on with Councilman Albritton. I just want to bring up a guy's name. His name is Greg Mitchell. He's a lobbyist, has been a lobbyist, a member of Scientology. Greg Mitchell just had a fundraiser for Anna Paulina Luna to raise money for her. Ryan Cotton knows very well what's going on with behind the scenes. And I just want to make sure that there's clarity. And I could care less if that's what you want. I want you to come forward and say that I believe in Scientology. I'm for Scientology. I will take their money and I will adhere to them. But there is, Teresa Dugan gave lots of money to Trump, to DeSantis, to Paulina, and Utmar. And so when you talk about being biased, Dave says to me, he says, because this was my best friend, and he talks about losing friends. Hopefully we'll be able to fix that problem. Last week was his birthday. I said, happy birthday, and I love you. At the same time, the opportunity to reach out, he never asked, he says, Mike, I don't have to ask you because I know your opinion. He knew Utmar's opinion before he ever asked that question. So I think you have to understand the lobbying, as you mentioned, being lobbied. I think we have to let the Republicans and the Democratic voters of this city, of this county, understand what's going on behind closed doors. So if we as Republicans want to take money from Scientology, and I guarantee you, anytime you take money from any organization, there's always make sure I get something out of it. Just like President Trump just gave Teresa Dugan some kind of award or appointment. Everybody wants something. So when you take Scientology's money, I hope that you can be unbiased and you can say with truth and look at yourself and say, that had nothing to do with my decision. So I hope and pray, because that's the only thing we've got is our good Lord and Savior that's going to make everything work. So with that, I just wanted to bring that to clear attention, so hopefully the news picks it up. Thank you.
Next speaker. When we wrap up, yeah. We'll come back to you.
There's, discussion items. I guess I could, yeah. Whatever. I think it's fine. It's on the agenda. So, Jessica? Okay, 4 minutes.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'd like to say that I'm Tony from the Nash Keys 500 block. I'm known now, I guess, as the troublemaker of the 500 block. I come here just to speak. I know all you guys pretty well. I I eat with you guys, I drink with you guys, I hang out with you guys. You guys are all good people. But I just wanted to remind you guys that some of you guys serve the citizens. And even though nothing was done illegally, like you eloquently expressed, and you sound like a man of conviction and good resolution. So I appreciate your comments. You have to see how it looks. It looks like we don't serve the people. It looks like we've had 6,000 signatures from Save the Garden Project that we all know about. How popular this opinion was for the people and not wanting the city to be vacated and to be part of our community. 6,000 citizens, registered voters that my wife got accused of fraud for, that the fair, what is it called? Fair market, not fair market, but fair game tactics have been very prevalent to me in my community as well as my wife. Clearly, anonymous phone calls, harassment and stuff like that. I want to remind you guys who you guys serve. Nothing was done illegally, I said, but it looks very negative. It looks like the whispers of one small group holds greater value than the signatures of registered voters. 6,000. 6,000 registered voters. Not 5, not 10, 6,000. Those are the people that could vote. Those are the people that you guys did not veto and say was not valid, which we know were more, and there was constant aggression put on discrediting these signatures. So 6,000 are valid. That should be a demonstration that the people do not want it. You guys serve us, and we're happy to have you guys. You guys have all been kind and generous people, but it looks disheartening. It looks like you're not on our side. The people don't want it. It shouldn't be a debate. It shouldn't be something that's done in secrecy. Like I've said time and time again, that there's an elephant in the room that we don't speak about, but emails are passed back and forth in secret, not made public, not known. And I commend you, Mayor, for making this a topic to discuss to the people, because it should be in the sunlight. It should be shown to the people to see what's going on, because we do not want it. You guys all know we don't want it. We all know it's not to the benefit. We all know this is an organization that has deteriorated our town. Yes, they're trying to improve it and renovate it, but we've heard this time and time again. All I'm asking you guys is to serve the people, because unfortunately, you guys are elected officials. You guys do not have the people on your side with this topic. You guys do not have the mass on your side. And what happens in these situations is the public will no longer have trust in you. And once that happens, it's over politically. Serve the people. Serve your constituents. Serve us for what we want. And I'm telling you, no one wants them to have any more control over city. And this action looks deceitful and horrific. Thank you, guys.
Hi, I'm Mark Bunker.
Yeah,
It's two people now.
yeah, I've had a council member, we could kind of, I get criticized for trying to get people to hold down their applause all the time. Different groups come in, but it really does slow us up here, and we're really interested in what the speakers say. So if we could keep the applause down, that would help us move the meeting along, because we got a number of folks who want to speak. So please, Mr. Bunker.
Very good. I'm glad that Mike Mastroserio was talking about the lobbying. Mary Repper was hired by Scientology, by Mike Rinder, who was the head of the Office of Special Affairs. And Mike died about a year or so ago. But purposely, they brought in this woman who is so well connected to the Republican Party here that she worked to enable the Republicans to come back into the Fort Harrison Hotel and accept Scientology's money and Safe Point Scientology. I mention this only because you had said something about Scientology lobbying David. And that led to a bunch of people online saying, oh, he's taking money, he's in Scientology's pocket, and that's not true at all. He's a good guy, he's a decent guy. So I'm glad we can settle the letter issue, but there was lobbying going on, but it was at the state level. I mean, even now tonight, hearing that the state attorney general was coming into your office to discuss this, and other things. I mean, Scientology has put a lot of pressure on the state level to try to turn that potentially negative vote around. And that's where the lobbying happens. I mean, to go to the state attorney general, and have him write a letter that essentially says, hey, you could be sued. That's a scare tactic. And lobbying doesn't even have to be involving money. Tom Cruise knocked at the door of a mayor in Tampa at one point and said, hey, I've heard about your delicious coconut pie. I'd like some of that. Out of the blue, Tom Cruise is knocking at your door. That is the type of influence that is very easy for Scientology to wield. I have to say that I read Mr. Margolis's 30-page opinion on this to you folks after that first letter, and I've read all of the other material that have been sent back on this, and I think I agree with David that the city's stance that he's recommending, I think, is a good one. And as he mentioned before, if it goes to court, then you'll have an answer, one way or the other. And by the way, Miscavige doesn't need the street, he wants it. We need the street. So they can get a permit to use it 4 times a year.
Thank you, sir. Again, if you get all your applause, it's going to help us move along. So, next speaker, please.
My perspective is probably going to be a little bit different. Coming from a little bit more of a neutral perspective. My name is Heath Fleener. I'm a retired police detective specializing in interrogation, search and seizure case law, Constitution, use of force case law, U.S. Army disabled veteran, former firefighter, EMT, emergency dispatcher and contractor, trained police officers all over the country. I also founded a nonprofit that assists veterans, first responders, and their families with post-traumatic stress and suicide prevention. Bring up my resume for just a few reasons. Coming at this from Constitution auditing, okay? So I stand here tonight to say that I've seen, witnessed the incredible humanitarian activities that the Church of Scientology supports, not only promotes, but financially supports as well. I can't list them all because I'm limited on time. But I also stand here as someone who's bled gallons of blood, almost died several times defending the Constitution that you have sworn an oath to protect and defend, as I have several times in my life. To me, this document is not just a piece of paper, it's the lives of so many of my brothers and sisters who have sacrificed everything for others to enjoy the rights this document guarantees. As I watched last meeting, I was appalled at the behavior of you, Mr. Mayor, putting your personal agenda above your constitutional and elected duties as the mayor. Your council is the voting body of the city you represent. As the mayor, you're not the king, yet only the tiebreaker. You have a responsibility to be the example of objectivity in the room, not to own your own bully opinion. In the meeting I witnessed, you stepped on the First Amendment numerous times by calling into question the freedom of a council member to exercise his rightful independent voice to resolve an obvious question of law. It is important to me, because in my mind the law is being used to impede the religious freedom of the Church and Scientology and the First Amendment rights of this gentleman right here, trying to make sure he didn't impede on someone's religious liberties. Some may argue that you also impede on the Fourth Amendment by demanding that that council member explain to you his motivation for doing what he did. You appear to be insisting that nobody should have any other opinions than yours as the city attorney. Your insistence that you represent the citizens of Clearwater, thereby denying the citizenship of the many Scientologists in Clearwater is deeply troubling and violates the First Amendment rights of Scientologists.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you for your comments, yeah. May we have the next speaker? Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. I'm Rochelle Roach. I'm a resident of about a decade in Clearwater. I've done a lot of deep research on the Church of Scientology, and I'm very troubled. I'm extremely troubled.
Yeah.
I
Ma'am,
have.
just make sure we're speaking to the
Okay.
agenda item. That's the letter. Yeah.
Well, and this goes
you.
back to, are you aware that what the end goal is with Scientology, with every city, is to convert every city in the world into Scientology? Are you aware of
Well,
that?
but it's the agenda item we're asking people to speak to tonight.
Okay, well, I
Just to-
think-
Just save everybody's, there are others that want to speak to that.
Okay,
so.
I think that's something that we need to definitely look at. And I've talked to former Scientologists, current Scientologists. They, total world domination, and where the world and what they do is above the law. I think we really, really need to look deeply into this.
Yeah.
Because as a Christian, I'm very concerned about some of the tactics that I've heard and what's going on.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Next speaker.
My name is Joe Corvino, Clearwater, Florida. Before I begin a few comments, I just would like to say it's a hard act to follow what's in the room. I remind you that 6,000 names, there are 125,000 voters in the city of Clearwater. I'd also like to remind you, and I'm sorry, Mr. Rector, I have to tell you this, lobbying is an ingrained part of our system. It is not evil. It is people expressing and trying to support their own view. That's just a comment on the outside. My actual comment is based on the past few months regarding this issue. A local religious organization, the Church of Scientology, made a request regarding the Garden Avenue property. This request was not unusual, as Mr. Albritton had pointed out, and many other similar requests were concluded without any controversy. Why is this one different? Two council members, Mr. Cotton and Mr. Menino, have, in accordance with their oath of duty, judged this request based on merit. They felt the project had merit. Two council members, yourself and Mr. Sheriff, decided to use your bias, your personal bias, some people call it prejudice, I call it bigotry. You decided to use that to cloud your judgment. On the legal issue, we have a city attorney that has an opinion. We have outside counsel that has an opinion. And when I say we, I'm not talking about me. I'm a Roman Catholic kid from Brooklyn, New York. I am not a Scientologist. I'm ashamed to have to say that in front of this council. That is not the issue. You have made it the issue. Considering this stalemate, Mr. Albritton used his authority and asked for legal advice. Who should he go to for legal advice? Well, I would go to the highest legal authority in the state. He went to the Attorney General. The Attorney General rendered an opinion. Basically, the Attorney General scolded this commission. It told you that you're crossing a line. You're crossing a line of bias. My appointment, my whole point is that I'm trying to say to you that it's not a matter of right, wrong, which issue, which side. You've created a war zone. You have a war zone. You have citizens standing here just hating, no judgment by merit. Is the project good? Is the project bad? It's a matter of hate. And that is what's giving this city a black eye.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah. Next speaker, please. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Catherine Finlay. I'm new to this, so this is just a point of verbology. When you were making your opening statements, you said the nonprofit. Could you give that nonprofit a name, please? No? Okay.
Yeah, well, this
You
is-
can't,
this is
you
your
can't ask
chance-
questions? I'm sorry, I don't
This is
know
your
the
chance to
exact
make-
format.
This is your chance to make a
Okay,
presentation.
but in the effort to have transparency, why not just use the name rather than the benevolent misnomer of nonprofit when we want everybody to be aware of what's going on? It seems a little duplicitous to me. That's all.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Next speaker, please. Yeah.
Good evening. I was just specifically going to ask
Your name,
Mr.
please?
Albritton.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Jill.
for the clerk,
yes,
yeah.
Clearwater resident. I was hoping that perhaps in the discussion time or at some point, you could help us to understand something that's not seeming to add up. Earlier this year, after one of Scientology's attorneys wrote with his perspective of the legal ownership of South Garden Avenue, this council commissioned our city attorney to determine title deed ownership of the street. Our tax dollars went to work. Our city attorney was more than diligent and thorough and reported back with a 30-page legal opinion. For some reason, that was not sufficient for you. Instead, unbeknownst to any of your colleagues, you decided to reach out to Florida's Attorney General, who is lobbied and generously financially supported by an elite Scientologist, whose ex-husband also donated, quote, deca millions of dollars, those are his own words, to the building of the L. Ron Hubbard Hall, the project that's attached to this vacation request for South Garden Avenue. So you questioned the competency of our own city attorney and his conclusion, but instead valued the opinion of an attorney general who is clearly lobbied by an elite Scientologist, married to a gentleman who's all but funding the project that's attached to this street. I'm just wondering if you can help it make sense in a way that doesn't leave us with the only option but to believe that Scientology orchestrated this entire thing. We, the people, want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, folks, if you can, just hold the applause. So, next speaker, please. Yeah.
Good evening. I'm Kelly Meyer from Clearwater. I come before you tonight, first of all, to just thank you for discussing reinstating public comment. I hope that's something that comes to fruition in 2026. And so tonight, using my public comment time, I just wanted to fill in a few gaps, maybe for the public here, regarding the letter from the Attorney General and the other letter that came in this summertime, which indicated that myself, that our mayor, and the pastor of my church here locally was somehow colluding together to take down their desire for building the hall and using our public street. And I just want to publicly say that is nonsense. And I think the public needs to hear that as well, because it wasn't brought out into the sunshine, that letter, but we do have it. It's in Freedom of Information. Regarding that also, Councilman Cotton, you had indicated that this type of a issue that the Attorney General's letter is addressing was similar to property that was vacated to my church here in the city. And I just wanted to fill in the gaps for you on that as well. I have some pictures of the location just to show that the current softball field on my church's property, for instance, there was one portion of a little street already on our property, and then this other street here, just a portion of it that was a dead end and did not have two-way through traffic into a main artery of our downtown. And so I just wanted to make that clear that in no way is that the same type of a street vacation that we are discussing here in our city right now. And so I just want to say also that just because something is legal, it doesn't mean it's right, right? And so we as citizens, you know, I've talked to so many people from all sorts of backgrounds during this initiative process. And all we want is transparency. We want honesty. We just want to be involved because it's our city and you all work for us. So I thank you for your time. And with that, I'll turn it over to the next speaker.
Jan Boggs. Can you raise your hand, Jan? Okay. And Susan Sims? All right, so 5.
Thank you so much for your service. I know it must not be easy, but I hope you find it rewarding sometimes. You are admired by a lot of people, and we appreciate it. Brooks Gibbs is my name. I'd like to quote Attorney General Uthmeyer from the small citations at the bottom of the letter that you received. It was interesting. I thought it'd be important for everyone to know. He said this, and it kind of shows the power, kind of the weight that he carries as the Attorney General. Uthmeyer said, "First, the Attorney General is the chief legal officer of the state and presides over the largest law firm in Florida. It specializes in everything." Can you imagine writing such a thing? It specializes in everything. That's phenomenal to me. Second, Attorney General opinions, he continues, carry great weight in Florida. So he is throwing his weight around here. Indeed, they constitute the final word on matters of state law unless or until a court of law disagrees. Finally, the mayor's suggestion that external pressures, he's talking about the Church of Scientology lobbying Uthmeyer, that external pressures would somehow alter or influence a legal opinion rendered by this office would be offensive if it wasn't laughable. So it's really, we understand how politics works. Someone told me politics is like 2 words, poly, which means many, and then ticks, which is blood-sucking parasites, you know? And
Please, just, his time's running, so let's let him speak, so.
I think there's an elegant solution, and it's called the people. The people are the solution. Please don't clap.
Yeah, you're interrupting him, so.
I have here 6,000 signatures to help solve this Uthmeyer problem. 6,000. 6,000 signatures right here. And growing, of course, we're out every day collecting signatures. And it's basically signatures on a petition to protect streets like South Garden Avenue. Hopefully you've studied our ballot initiative. For those who don't know, our ballot initiative will essentially take the responsibility to vacate streets.
Maybe you could keep it to the letter.
Away.
Yeah, we're not talking about the referendum or street vacation, just keep it to the letter.
This is a solution to his threat to sue you, so it's very, very important. It's to take away the power of vacating streets away from the city council and into the people. That keeps you away from being sued by the state, which Uthmeyer is clearly threatening to do because of discrimination. The citizens are trying to protect the city council from litigation. So this is absolutely relevant. Voter approval required for the vacation of downtown streets. That's what it is. That's what we're trying to change the law. And these 6,000 signatures say, yeah, man, if Scientology wants to take over South Garden Avenue, they need voter approval for the vacation of right-of-way. So on behalf of 6,000 people, I submit these to you as a visual aid. These are notarized. They're beautiful signatures, and they actually represent over 6,000 conversations. You know, and I'm asking that some courageous council member actually takes this ballot measure from us and adopts it as a council initiative. You put it on the ballot in August of 2026. You know what that does? It bypasses litigation from the state attorney. It keeps us, the citizens, out of litigation, because once we submit these to the clerk, once we're done, we'll get sued by the Church of Scientology. That's very clear. They're going to try to pick apart and find any fault in our initiative. So it keeps us out of court. Adopting this measure keeps you guys out of court. And the amazing thing is when the council puts a referendum on the ballot, it actually freezes all street vacations. So no one can actually apply for a street vacation until it's voted on in 2026. But it needs a courageous person. If I could bring 6,000 people here into this room, I would. You know I would. I would bring all 6,000 of them. But they gave us their signatures. And this is like no joke. This has never been done in the history of Clearwater. This is the largest citizen initiative that the city has ever seen. This is the most unifying cause. They are tired of seeing the loss of their downtown. And you can understand how thrilled the citizens were when there's finally a chance for them to have some control. You're saying we could have control over the development of downtown? You're telling me that developers have to actually ask us for permission? That means that they have to please us, which is my final point. The greatest way to put pressure on the Church of Scientology to activate their downtown properties and make downtown Clearwater beautiful and vibrant for the citizens is to make them know that they have to win the approval of the citizens. They have to go to us for the street. They have to change their reputation. And once they do that, they just might get a street.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Yeah. I think we only have two more. Yeah.
Hello, thanks for letting me speak tonight. My name's Angie Jernowski. I'm a Clearwater resident. And I have to say, Ms. Director, just you saying that we have to stick to the agenda topic really screwed up my speech, so I might as well just throw it out. This is going to be short and sweet, but I did want to address the letter at least. When Mr. Albritton met with Scientology and then sent that letter without informing the council or the public, it did feel like to many of us citizens that we were stabbed in our backs. And I understand, Mr. Albritton, that you had the legal right to do so, but that's not really the issue that we have with it. The issue is transparency and trust. When major steps like that are taken quietly, especially after this matter has been, discussed publicly and passionately, I might add, it just naturally weakens the trust that we have in you, and unfortunately, the council as a whole. So I do want to thank you, Mr. Rector, for asking the questions you've asked and for speaking up for many of us people. Many of us had the same concerns and questions, and your efforts are truly appreciated. And I also want to be clear, Mr. Albritton, that while I do say that, I do believe that I've been following along, watch a lot of the council meetings, and I do believe that you're a good guy and that you truly care about Clearwater and developing Clearwater, to make it so that more people will want to come. So I'm not questioning those intentions. I just hope that going forward, you all will consider discussing those things publicly and bringing those to the public. And then I'm going to piggyback off of what he said, which again is not fully in my speech, but I just think that would be a great idea to put that on the ballot for the Clearwater voters to vote on. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Becca Kay. I have been a resident of Clearwater for a very long time. I live in a neighborhood I've lived in for 47 years. And 47 years ago, there were hardly any Scientologists in my neighborhood. And now it is considered a Theta neighborhood. Several years ago, I helped one of my neighbors clean out her garage. She was moving. She asked me if I could help her, so I did. In so doing, I found some interesting literature
Yeah.
This one is
If
called
you could stick
brainwash.
to the letter for us, that'd be. great.
Pardon?
Stick to the letter if you could for us.
Oh, the letter?
Yeah. The Attorney General's letter.
Well, I'm going to stick to,
We understand that people throughout the community have different feelings about.
but
yeah.
we have to
but the agenda item is the
understand
letter
that
tonight. Yeah.
you have to take this to the federal level.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, Scientology is not a religion. I had these books, they prove that. But I will say, because of all this that I have to live with on a daily basis in my neighborhood, this is very concerning to me, Mayor Rector, and we have spoken about this. I put up a Facebook post that said, I'm selling my house if anyone knows somebody who wants to come live in Scientology world. And I got something very ugly from a neighbor, and we need to take this to another level. Y'all, we need to take this to another level. There should have been no reason that this organization ever got tax exempt status.
Yeah, we gotta
And
stick to-
the city is being robbed of property taxes that we could have, but you
Thank-
want to take it all out of our pockets.
Thank you. I'm trying to be kind here, but we need
I
to stick to
know,
the
I know
letter,
you
yeah.
are, and I just came here because I wasn't even going to get up and speak, but I am livid. I really am. You guys have gotten some strongly worded emails from me just recently.
Okay.
And I want y'all to pay attention to what we are saying, okay? And just not brush it off. And what I said, I mean, and I will fight for this. I'm not planning on moving. I put that out there because I was extremely frustrated. I'm staying here. They're gonna carry me out in the, whatever. But please, pay attention to the residents that are not Scientologists and stop taking these donations from these multi-mega donors, please.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts tonight. Yeah, thank you. That's good.
I'm Mr. Haluba, and I believe the letter of November 14th was not appropriate. Any of that sort of advice should have been sought and approved or not from the members of the dais. Any of that discussion should have been done and vetted in public, especially since, as we stand here today, it's a non-issue. There appears to be so many shady backroom goings-on with the city of Clearwater. I would suggest any of you, talk to Slaughter about that. But the gentleman, as Mr. Menino calls him, certainly appears to have been compromised somehow or another. It's okay to ask for advice, but if you're a member of a ruling body, it should not be done out of left field on your own. And because that did happen, and because it does appear to be very, very odd, I believe that the gentleman should resign.
Thank you. Anybody else here tonight desire to speak to this agenda item? Okay, hearing seeing none, I just want to say, we sit up here and, we really do welcome everybody's input. Some of it I don't agree with, some of the things that were said. One thing I'd like to clarify, when I met with the Attorney General, we probably met for 30, 35 minutes. We talked very little bit about Garden Avenue. We talked about Clearwater, we talked about our anticipated growth of downtown Clearwater, we talked about all kinds of things. But we talked very little. He did not lobby me. me. And that was the purpose of the meeting. It was a friendly call to the mayor, just talk about the future of Clearwater and the future of the state of Florida. So I just want to correct that part. And then I think Councilmember Cotton, did you have something you wanted to add, or no? Anybody else? And, but again, I felt like you all came tonight to speak, so I appreciate you trying to stick to the agenda item, because really, that's all that was on our agenda tonight. So thank you, whether I agreed with you or not. And the other thing too is, some of you are here tonight, you've written to us, and I've invited you to reach out to me to talk about this issue outside of a meeting, and encourage those who want to do that after tonight. Glad to talk with anybody at any time about any issue concerning the city, not just this agenda item. So with that, we'll move to item 12 on the agenda, closing comments by council members. Councilmember Cotton?
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate everybody's input and coming out tonight to speak to us. I will be talking to staff probably this week to see if there's any way or anything that we can do legally to get all of our Attorney General opinions right on a dashboard or something on our website, so you don't have to Freedom of Information request it. You can just click right on it, have access to all of them. It's ridiculous you should have to go through a timed period to try and just get access to a document. So we'll see what we can't do with that. I think it'd probably be a good idea. With something else, and I just learned this 5 years ago, through the fire department, actually, down where I work, because I was always under the impression that religious organizations did not pay taxes. I just thought that was the way of it. And I was corrected in regards to a church in my area. The only, and correct me if I'm wrong, portions that aren't taxable are the rooms in which worship services are held or the parishioner lives in. I think there's one other. I can't remember it right off the top of my head, I'll be honest with you. All to say, if you go to the tax rolls and you look at the downtown development tax rolls, Scientology is the highest taxpayer downtown. So I just thought that that was interesting information. You can go to the public property appraiser's website, go to those tax rolls. It is on the 2024 tax rolls. It'll be on the 2025 tax rolls. I don't remember what numbers they are. They're split between like number 2 and number 4, something like that. But added together, they make the highest tax roll. So to think that they're not paying taxes, I just want to let you know they pay taxes just as any other religious organization in our city is, as long as it's not the 2 areas I said and the one I can't forget. I'm sorry, I apologize for that. But you can just look it up. It's literally accessible. You could Google it from your phone right now. So thank you, I appreciate it. Yeah, I hope you all have a good night.
Councilmember Menino?
No, sir.
Councilmember Albrecht?
I think I've said everything I want to say, but I want to wish everybody happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and we'll see you in January.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
Thank you all for coming. I always am very encouraged when I see the community be engaged, and I look forward. Should I start over again? Thank you for coming, and I look forward to seeing you all throughout the next 2 weeks in all the holiday events that we will probably see each other soon. Looking forward to that.
That moved to item 13, closing comments by Mayor. It's a great time, as always, to be living here in Clearwater and Tampa Bay, and I enjoy many of the holiday activities that go on in Clearwater. Today, I don't know how many of you have seen this, but the Steinbrenner family, the New York Yankees, put on a Christmas concert every year. This was the 36th year that they've done it. They do one in Tampa at the Straz, which was yesterday. And then they did one today at Ruth Eckerd Hall. And they have almost 2,000 kids from Pinellas County, elementary school kids. And they not only put on a great show for them, the Florida Orchestra performs, it's very engaging. Mark Wilson from Fox 13 is the MC. But the Yankees really get behind it, and the Steinbrenner family's just been fantastic to Pinellas County, Clearwater over the years. And yesterday, the special guest was Aaron Judge over in Tampa. today it was the manager, Aaron Boone, was here in Clearwater, and he was the guest conductor for the final song that they did for the kids. But afterwards, all the kids got a duffel bag, a Yankees duffel bag full of Christmas gifts for their kids. And these were 2,000 kids from Pinellas County from schools that come from families that really need some help and some extra special of it Christmas time. So I can tell you there are all kinds of activities like that. Our police department has a shopping experience for kids every year, and they're going to do that this Saturday at Target. We've got the Jingle Bell Family Fest on December 20th. There'll be 150 vendors in Coachman Park. We've got the Ferris wheel down there now. There'll be lots of activities for kids, contests and things for the whole family to do. We've got the Island Estates Boat Parade, which is long running. It will be coming up here, and I think it's not this weekend, but the following weekend, which is an annual event. The ReliaQuest Bowl, before we meet the next time, is happening again. We don't know what teams will be in it. Last year, it was Alabama and Michigan. Brought big crowds to Clearwater for the bowl event, and that beach day will be out on Clearwater Beach December 29th. And then Light It Up Clearwater on New Year's Eve. Amplify Clearwater puts on one of the biggest New Year's Eve fireworks displays in all of Tampa Bay. So, and I'm only like nibbling on all the things going on, but you know, we all know how blessed we are to live in this community for all the many things we do, plus the natural environment. Today we opened, or they opened the public to invite some of us over to see the new Manatee Rehabilitation Center at Clearwater Marine Aquarium. They have 3 manatees over there now at CMA that they started with a year ago. There was something called a hurricane that came in, and they had to relocate those manatees, but they've got the manatees back. They've had them for about a week or so, and the goal is to rehabilitate those manatees to put them back in the wild, and we're glad to see CMA prospering in that way too. To, again, how blessed we are to have all these wonderful activities, but also be preserving the natural environment of Clearwater and Tampa Bay. So, as Councilmember Albritton said, we wish everyone in Clearwater, everyone here tonight, a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to celebrate whatever you and your family celebrate. But it's a great time for family fun, families to gather together, and we wish everyone happy holidays and a happy new year in the coming days. So with that, we will adjourn the December 4, 2025 meeting of the Clearwater City Council.